Hello, transformational leaders. Welcome to this Love and Light Fest, your sweet spot for stepping up and getting your shine on. I'm your host, Sky Ahern, and you are listening to Leading with Light. Today's guest is Ash Amara. Ash Amara is the author of the best-selling Warrior Goddess training, The Warrior Goddess Way, Awaken Your Inner Fire, and a little book of big freedom. She is dedicated to inspiring depth, creativity, and joy by sharing the most potent tools from a variety of world traditions. Ash studied and taught extensively with Don Miguel Ruiz, author of the Four Agreements, and continues to teach with the Ruiz family. Raised in Southeast Asia, Ash has traveled the world from childhood and is continually inspired by the diversity and beauty of human expression and experience. She brings this open-hearted, inclusive worldview to her writings and teachings, which are a blend of Toltec wisdom, European shamanism, Buddhism, and Native American ceremony. You can learn more about her at www.HeatherAshAmara.com. Welcome back to the show, Ash Amara.
Thanks, guys. So great to be here with you. Yay!
I'm so excited to continue. This is a part 2 of our interview. If you actually have missed part 1 of our interview, you can go back to episode 10 of Leading with Light and check it out. So, woohoo! It's so great to see your beautiful face and have you on the show again.
Thank you, honey. It's so good to be here. I always like exploring all sorts of magic with you.
That's been happening for like 30 years.
Yes, exactly.
Oh my gosh, I can't even believe it. It's been that long. Okay, well, it must be really good magic because we're still doing it on some level.
True. That is very true.
Good. So the last time we were together, we were talking about your big why. And since the last time, you've been doing a lot of new things. So I wanted to just reflect on that before we go into some other questions. How has your big why expanded and what's been going on?
What I'm finding is that, my big why has always been around being of service and sharing. Like, I just love sharing whatever I'm learning and helping to empower people and empower myself. And that there's this growth phase that's happening right now, which I'm so enjoying, of visioning bigger. And I've always had a really big vision, but one of the things I'm noticing right now is that, like, getting the concrete details of what that looks like. Like, there's one thing to vision, like, way in the future of this is what's going to look like, but how do you get there? So I'm in the, like, now how do we get there? So, for example, I just bought land, which has been a huge dream of mine for many, many years. And so now to go, okay, now that I have the foundation of this land and I know where I'd like it to be, now what's the next step to get there? And there's a visioning of the process, and also a growing myself into the process, if that makes sense as well, because it's something new. And every
it's so exciting.
I know, it's so excited.
How long have you been wanting land?
30 years.
Okay. Yay, congratulations, you got land.
I know. I can't wait.
And where is this land?
It is outside of Santa Fe, right by the Santa Fe National Forest. So it backs up to 1.8 million acres of national forest, and it's 180 acres. So it's a lot of land to play on.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And it's raw. So it has a well and a creek, and that's about it. So there's a lot to then vision. How do you take land that's empty pretty much? I mean, that's pristine right now. And how do you work with that land to co-create something where humans can come and get to enjoy the land and feel held and nourished?
So exciting.
Yeah, it is.
Well, it's pretty amazing that you're actually mentioning that, because I have another question for you that I think that you're really going to dig, because you just said that. But before we do that, how about we pray together? Would you like to?
Yeah, I'd love that.
Okay. Okay, so take a big deep breath in and breathe down the front of your body, centering yourself in your heart. And imagine breathing up that sparkly energy of creation up through the earth up through your feet, into your legs, into your thighs, into your hips, into your torso and your neck and your head. And imagine coming up out of your space in a beautiful ball of light, noticing what color it is. And as you come up past the stars, as you come up past the trees and the clouds and the Earth's atmosphere into the stars, you keep on going past all the planets and the universe, past the multiverse, past the dark lights, different white lights, past the angels and the gods and the goddesses, past that thick jelly-like substance, the laws of the universe, finding that pink cotton candy-like energy, the law of compassion, feeling that energy of compassion for yourself, for the world, for all of these humans on this planet, and going deeper into that law of compassion, just seeing this white, iridescent, sparkly light, this window of light, and step into it. And as soon as you step into it, you can see your beautiful ball of light in this field of sparkly white light. And if you were imagining spinning around, you can just feel that tingling energy in between your fingers and on your skin, this infinite potentiality to create with. And reach up out of your bubble, gather as much energy as you need and bring it down into your bubble, filling up your bubble, filling up your whole entire bubble in your body, being and just becoming that, letting that light, just becoming that light. And from here, we're going to pray, Mother, Father, God, creator of all that is, great spirit, Atanaha, all that is. Thank you for my life, and thank you for the life of Ash Amara. Thank you for this time that we have today together. Thank you for the listeners leading with light. All these beings out there leading with their light. Make this world even a more better place to be. Be with us as we share our highest and best gifts with this audience today for the highest and best of everyone. Thank you. It's done. It's done. It's done. Oh.
Beautiful.
How did that feel?
Great.
I got a little caught up in the sparkling white light there. Good. Oh my gosh. Okay, so this is my question for you. You ready?
Ready.
Okay, so maybe even close your eyes for this one. So when your big why comes into fruition, what does that look like and how does it feel? And you may, you can imagine like being in this beautiful ball of light and just shooting forward and through all time and space, maybe just a couple years in advance, or even next month, knowing you. And asking yourself, what does it look like when your big why comes into fruition?
What it looks like is having really deep community. So as part of why I bought the land is I wanted a central place for people to be able to gather and call home and have a home base in that way, where they could be free to be themselves, where they can reconnect with nature. And so the vision that comes immediately is this sense of people having a place to come and be with each other and with nature, and really feel supported, feel filled up, feel connected, feel loved, get what they need to be able to go back into their lives and inspire other people around them and stay centered. And that also there's that hub. That's really what I feel like we're creating on the land, is a hub, and that there's then multiple other hubs. So I'm also so passionate about helping people create local community where they're at, and places where, whether you're in the city or you're in the country, where you can go to gather with other people that are on the same path and feel held and seen and inspired by each other, because we need each other so much to be on a spiritual path and really create the transformation I believe that we're all yearning for. And it's much more fun and much more effective to do it with other people that are on the same path.
Yes. I don't know about you, but I really need people. I really need to play with people. Absolutely. Sounds like you do too.
Yeah, I love playing with people, and I love watching people get that, because we talked about this last time, I think, Sky, that you and I are so blessed because we had such incredible community in our 20s. In our early 20s, we had this enormous community, and I talked to a lot of people that have never experienced that before. They have no idea what that even looks like, and I feel like I'm taking that early training that I got of deep friendship and community and working together towards a goal, and bringing it so people get to have that experience with each other.
I think that experience was life-changing, and I agree. I haven't found a lot of people that have had that deep sense of community and an opportunity to be held through thick and thin, right?
Yeah.
As we grow, and even years, right? I mean, this has been about 30 years in our life where we still have those people, whether or not we see them. And all of them are really pretty fascinating people out there in the world doing really great things, right?
Yeah, so true.
So I'm grateful that you're getting to bring that to your community and all the people that you serve. It's amazing. I'm so excited about the process of getting on the land and doing some stuff. I'm hoping that we can join you.
I hope you can too, because it's magic. It's such a beautiful piece of property.
Oh, so excited. Road trip. Woohoo!
Yeah.
Okay, so when you close your eyes and when you feel into that, when you're bringing those people together, what is it that you're doing in that moment that is in connection to your like mission and what you really feel like you're here on this planet to do?
A piece of it is just reminding people how powerful they are, and that so often I see that people feel like they're broken, or that they don't deserve, or that they're not lovable, and just that place of coming back home to ourselves. I feel like that's one of my gifts and my missions, is to help people remember that they already have everything that they need. And it sounds so simple in a way, but it's so not what we're used to holding in our lives.
Yeah.
That they're loved exactly where they're at, that they can be seen and held and excel and expand and be creative. And also this idea, of really playing, that sometimes we get into this sense of that everything has to be really serious and we have to do it perfectly. And I just found when I started experimenting and exploring in my life and being curious, that everything changed.
Tell me how that happened.
I used to have this really strong internal judge that said, in order to be liked, in order to do it right, you have to do it in a particular way, and you have to please other people and make sure everybody else is happy. And so there's a lot of stress with that, because I was constantly looking outside of myself of who am I supposed to be? And as that has shifted, from really looking at what the agreements were that I was holding that weren't serving me, and getting into my center, I'd say, was the biggest piece. And just recognizing that just holding my light, just being who I am, is the biggest healing for myself and for everybody else around me. And that we just need more people that are in their center being themselves 100%.
So sweet. So sweet. Okay. So imagine yourself in a little rainbow, sparkly, time traveling machine there, popping into the future. And you've been creating this community, and you've been traveling and going from one community to the next. And you're surrounded by people in their power, in their space, lined up, playing and being curious and just having fun and getting along. What does that feel like?
It feels like just pure joy and connection to spirit, and that we can become artists. That's what I see when people start cleaning up, like as I've cleaned up the old beliefs, there's just this joy and this creativity. And as people do that in community, like anything is possible.
I got such goosebumps, I could barely stop smiling.
Yeah, there's this incredible co-creation with the universe that's so fun. And people sometimes ask me, they're like, well, why do you do what you do? Like, why do you want to write books? Why are you putting them out into the world? And my answer's been for a while, like, I want to be able to be in the place in my life where I can call anybody on the planet and go, hey, I have this really fabulous, crazy idea. Do you want to do it?
Yes.
And yeah, they'll go, yes, let's play. And I see that happening more and more now. It used to be that spiritual teachers or healing teachers were very separate from each other, and they were doing their thing. But now this collaboration that's starting to happen, and that the collaboration around not just spirituality, but spirituality and social justice, and spirituality and activism, that's coming online more and more. And so there's this beautiful weaving that's starting to happen, that, like, I've been talking with Sandra Ingerman, who's been one of my mentors for many, many years. And she's been talking about, like, how do we create something for the millennials? How do we create something that helps them to feel empowered, instead of, it's really hard for a lot of the young ones coming in right now, because it seems so that the world is just on the brink of collapse. And so there's this hopelessness, and there's anxiety, and there's this fear with some of the millennials that she and I have been talking about. And so this idea of, like, how can we collaborate is so exciting. And so I feel like what's happening, like where we are in the paradigm shift right now, is moving from that individual, I have to fix this myself, or I have the way, and just getting all that nonsense out of the way and saying, how do we work with each other? How do we create the most change together? How do we use our strengths together? And that nobody's doing it better than anybody else. I think we're all doing it in different ways. And instead of, like, this is the one path, to go, okay, let's look at all the prisms on this beautiful kaleidoscope that we all are, and let's bring the best of our prism and our viewpoint forward, so that we're touching more and more people.
Okay.
Yeah.
So see that in your bubble. See that in the future. And feel that in the future, that collaboration of empowered beings just in their light, leading with their light. And so let's do a download, okay, of what that feels like in every cell of our being. And we may have glimpses of that, right? But when we download ourselves, when we show up for our greatest expansion, others can get that just by being around us, right? Yeah. But we can also do some intentional downloads from highest vibration of all that is, and shave off years of trying, right? We just tap into our divine energy and ask to step into that expansion. So would you like that download?
Yes.
All right. And anybody out there listening too, if you would like that download, you can just say yes. And I'm just going to ask Creator, teach us in the highest and best way in every cell of our body what it feels like to work together while we lead with our light, with amazing, brilliant leaders and people in their empowered alignment, and how to move forward co-creating amazing movements to support other people in living the highest and best lives they ever dreamed. And that we can do that together, how to do that in collaboration, not power over or any hierarchical kind of thing, but with power with. Does that sound good? Anything else you'd like to add to that?
Nope, that really covers it.
Because I don't know, I mean, this is the end game. The end game, if we get to play. So how about this? Would you like to know what it feels like to play with lots and lots of amazing beings that have fine-tuned their connection to the highest vibration of all that is?
Yeah, beautiful.
On this earth, because we've already done it in different places and different times and spaces. But how about this earth now? And if anybody out there listening would like that download too, certainly just say yes, so it is, through all time and space, in between time. And really, it just feels like there's a space for everybody, and they get to be held. and they get to step into their brilliance and their conscious energy of creating whatever their gifts are. I mean, how fun is that?
Yes. Yeah. And the image I had too is of, there's like working on the physical plane to change things, and that takes time if you're working just on the physical plane to change things. But if you have a group of people that are really conscious and aware, and you start shifting things on the energetic, you can change things so quickly, like as you were saying. And so that power to look at the energetic and what needs to be shifted energetically, and to do that on a huge scale, oh, so exciting.
Yeah, I've been really talking about that lately. It's like when we play with that non-physical, 99% non-physical, 1% physical,
Right.
we put so much focus on, I'm going to do this, and playing in this 1% physical. Well, wow, man, what happens when we play intentionally in alignment in the highest and best way on the non-physical, create that thing, that like little paradigm to pop into the physical experience? That's actually exactly what we're doing right now.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And just, let's just do that. Let's just do that.
Shortcut.
Mm-hmm. Shaving years off of your life, right?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
And so how do you see, so in your day-to-day life, how do you play in that non-physical intentionality with the physical?
I love using everything as a metaphor for everything else. I'll say it that way. So when I'm cleaning, like I live in a really little space right now. So I'm living out of my Airstream, and a little space is awesome. And it also gets messy super quickly because you have to put things away. And you know this, right? You have to put things away immediately. And sometimes I just don't. And so every time I clean up, like every couple days that I'm like, okay, let's put everything back in order. I always bring this sense of creating the sacred again, and using that physical, like I'm cleaning up any places that I'm in my own way, cleaning up any places that there are blocks, and just resetting the energy again to create that sense of spaciousness. And I do that with everything. There's always a connection to what I'm doing physically, but how that also relates to the biggest picture possible. And yeah, and that's just, it makes everything sacred. There isn't a separation of like, this is the mundane world and this is the sacred. To me, it's all sacred. It doesn't matter whether I'm talking in front of 1,000 people or I'm cleaning my toilet.
Nice. Yes.
Yeah.
And so I would imagine that takes a lot of presence and consciousness and just awareness and playing in how, like just checking out that non-physical aspect of it all.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
So doing that prayer that we did at the very beginning of this interview, a little bit in the morning, just like setting that tone, whatever you do, right? But setting that a tone where you can tap into the highest vibration of all that is and then go about your day, I think that helps bring in that non-physical awareness and into our consciousness as we walk through our day and we live through our day. And so then it also brings up those little places in the physical where we get stuck. And like, how can we include the 99% non-physical to make it easier and to clean that kind of stuff up, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And that's that place of awareness of where we go into resistance or where we go into fear or where we go into scarcity. And knowing that
right?
the habits, that it's reflecting back to us all the time. And so at any moment we can change it when we become aware of it. And, one of the things that I've really learned is to get really clear about what the vision is and what I want, and hold it and visualize it and energize it, and then totally let it go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Surrender it up. Right. And then to feed it, like, I don't just let it go and never think about it again. Like something comes up and I'm like, right, this action I'm taking right now, which seems really mundane, like going in and fixing, for example, yesterday we realized there was a link broken on the website, and I was like, let me go fix that. And so just that mindfully, like, okay, take that S off, create that. And it's like to remind myself, I mean, I do this with everything. Again, it's like I'm doing this little tiny action that seems like it's just a silly, mundane action, but that's a link to the macro. And so everything that we're doing on the micro and what seems to be mundane can get linked back to, and this is part of the vision. And I think people get stuck in that sometimes because they don't want to have to go through the mundane, like it's boring or it's somehow, but to me, it's all part of it. It's all part of the expansion.
And that takes that takes some time to get there a little bit, because it's training your brain to be really present, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And the way I sometimes like to think about it is like, it's a prayer. Like everything that I'm doing is a prayer. Yeah. Like when I go to a big events, like before I go to big events, I pray that the highest and best interactions be for myself and the people with whom I connect with, so that it's really super efficient.
Yes.
And then as I go about, the people that are in front of me, I know they're supposed to be there in front of me.
Yeah.
And so it's just really hot, juicy, fun, magical little things wherever I go, because I've set that intention first and then stepped into it. And so if something's a little bit wonky, I'm like, whoa, well, this is something here. So like, let me look at this. There's something magic behind it.
Yeah, exactly. It makes it so fun.
Even in thinking about, so I've been building up my business a lot this past year, creating systems and structures to hold people, because the work that I do really, really holds people. And so I'm figuring I need to have those systems and structures in my business as well, right? Mm-hmm. And so, there's a lot of learning, a lot of growing, and it's like, how can I pray in the end game as I'm doing these little building pieces, and make it a prayer too? Because I think that's what you're kind of saying, is like these technical little things that we think that we should just shove off. No, it's like, how can we make that a part of the bigger vision, the bigger outcome, how it will be received? Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then how we go about it. It's balance. Oh, there's a lot there, right?
Yeah, there really is. And I was telling a group today that one of my favorite kind of sayings that I heard from a friend a long, long time ago is he said, I'm either in the state that I want to be in, like I'm either consciously living in that state of connection to spirit, or I'm praying to get back to that state. And that if we live our lives of either we're in compassion, or we're in love, or we're in connection, or we're in flow, however we think about it, or what we're yearning for, we're either in that space, and so we're just moving, we're just flowing, everything starts to connect in really beautiful ways when we're in the state that we're wanting to be in. And if we're not in that state, instead of judging ourselves, feeling victimized, struggling to get back to the state, telling ourselves we're wrong because we're not in that state and what's wrong, to just simply go, and now I'm going to pray to get back to that state. Yes. And the moment you bring prayer in, you're back in grace again. You're back in. So I love that. It's just so simple. You're either in it or you're praying to be there.
So you're going to love this. Oh, can I share something with you?
Yeah, please.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So it's kind of this major download that I got a long time ago of, like, if you imagine an infinity sign, right? And it's right there in front of you. And in the middle is that place where they connect. It's like this, if you were imagining that there's a dot in the middle of the intersection piece, right? Mm-hmm. So this is like, that's like the now, right? Yes. In the center of it all. And in the now, it's the gateway to the presence, the love, the joy, the happiness, the generosity, the gratitude, the blessing, the creativity, the manifestation, right? So it's all the yummy stuff that we love, the flow, the ease, the grace, the joy, all of that yummy stuff. Yeah. And so we live our life, and then we get kind of maybe drawn out of it because maybe of a past experience. So on the far right side of that loop of the infinity sign, that can be like seen as like the past. Mm-hmm. And it's like under the past is like fear, judgment, worry, stress, anger, resentment, bitterness, all those love or fear things, like the fear stuff, right?
Yeah.
And so it's like, how do you get back into the now, into that center point, and doing whatever you need to do, whatever things that help you clear all that stuff so it can get you back into that now. That's where we take action to bring us back into that loop.
Nice.
But then, right, then on the other side, there's like the future. Because sometimes we go into that future, worry, oh my God, what's this going to be like? Oh, you know, and that anxiety and that stress, and back into the fear stuff. So when we go under that little loop to that little, the side of the infinity, we can go into the future, and then we go, oh, well, when we find ourselves futurizing, what do? We can manifest intentionally.
Mm-hmm.
And we can go into that prayer state and ask for the highest and best intentionality of the infinite possibilities that we do want to create in our lives, and we choose to create. And then our job, remembering, is only to figure out the what, and the universe gets to figure out the how. We can go into that prayer and say, this is what I so choose, the highest and best way, and make it so, poof. And then you take care of it, yo. And then you get to go back to the now, into that peace. And it's like this dance, the human dance of always going through that little loop of infinity. But hopefully the more that you land in the middle, in that now, into that love, it gets bigger and bigger, and it's easier for us to pop into that alignment more and more.
Yeah. Beautiful. I love that image.
Isn't that cool?
It's really cool.
So it's like, it's a kind of a little bit of a map to figure out and assess where you're at, like right away. It's like, if I'm feeling stressed or worried, okay, am I in the past or am I in the future? How am I going to get back into that? You know, Abraham calls it the vortex.
Mm-hmm.
It totally, you know, does the now thingamajig, but
yeah,
I should say that differently. Abraham calls it the vortex. Eckhart Tolle calls it the now. Whatever, right in the middle. That's where love is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that place of presence. And it's, if we can use fear as a guide to bring us back into the present, rather than following the fear to take us further away. The fear isn't the problem, it's what we do with it. It's how we're in relationship to it.
Yeah. Just kind of trying to figure out, it's awareness. It's cultivating that awareness and that witness of self, right? Where we're at in whatever moment. And then being able to have the discipline to reach for tools that help us get into the present moment. That takes I think that takes some time, doesn't it?
Yeah, it definitely does. It definitely does. And I know for me, the process was around really mapping my mind, of what my mind was doing, getting to know it, getting more intimate with it, and to learn how to stop judging it, but just really track it, of where it would go and what the fears were and how it would go out of balance. And once I had this overview of it and I was able to witness it, then I was able to start changing and bringing it back into the present. But so often we're busy judging ourselves or comparing ourselves or thinking, I shouldn't be thinking this, or I shouldn't be at this place, or I should be someplace different. And it's all the judgment that just keeps us stuck.
And I think sometimes also it's like that we don't know how to get out of it, or some people don't know how to get out of it. I think you and I've kind of developed some systems for ourselves to get out of it, right? But I think that some people just don't know how to get out of it. It's kind of maybe a hopeless kind of thing. And I know some of the books that you have written in your warrior goddess training, you are teaching people how to cultivate that relationship with themselves and where they're at, and giving them tools to help support them in developing their spiritual connection to themselves and to the all that is.
Yeah. And really so much about it in the beginning is to not abandon it yourself, to stop the places that we compare, that we judge, that we're frustrated, and coming back home to ourselves, which means accepting ourselves exactly where we're at. And sometimes when people hear that, they're like, well, then I wouldn't change anything. If I accepted myself, then I would just become lazy. And it's like, no, that's an old paradigm. It's an old thought.
Ooh.
The truth is, as you accept yourself, you then are starting to make changes out of love rather than out of fear or punishment. And those are the changes that stick. Like punishment will make change, but it won't make change that sticks.
Right.
You can get people to be afraid of you, but they're going to rebel. It's the same thing with yourself. You can punish yourself and have this fear of like, I can't make mistakes, so I'm going to do everything perfect, but you're going to end up rebelling against yourself.
Okay, I got some downloads. Want to?
Yeah.
Let's do some downloads for ourselves if we need them, and then any of the listeners as well if they need them. Does that sound good?
Yeah, it sounds fun.
Okay,
Go,
so
Sky.
what's that?
Go, Sky, go.
Well, they're just coming. You're just saying, and now I'm hearing. So, okay, would you like to know what it feels like? And anyone out there, if you'd like to know what this feels like, you just say yes, heaven, yes. So, would you like to know what it feels like to live your life free from being abandoned?
Yes.
From the all that is, from self, from family, from loved ones, from community. Yeah, that's a good one. Hold on a sec. Yeah, and that what it feels like to always belong, always be a part of, free from any kind of disconnect from the highest vibration of all that is, unconditional love, Creator, God, Jesus, Buddha, Allah, Great Sparkle Pony, whatever you need to call it. Somebody told me that, Great Sparkle Pony. I'm like, okay, cool, whatever.
Love it.
Mega unit. Someone told me mega unit. Someone told me great mushroom. I'm like, all right, whatever you need to believe in. They weren't indoctrinated in any different religion, and so it is. I'm cool with whatever you want to believe in.
Absolutely.
Good. And then also, would you like to know what it feels like? Highest truth perspective and definition of what it feels like to be fully accepted by all that is, self, others. You just say yes. And how to accept yourself free from punishment, free from judgment. Any other ones you can think of there, Heather?
Free from comparison, or thinking you need to be something else or someone else.
And how? Go ahead. Yeah.
And freedom from going into the past of who you were, or going into the future of who you think you should be.
Oh, wow. That's huge. How about that one? I've been looking at a lot of old pictures from us back in the day.
Yeah.
So I'm like going, oh, I miss that Sky. So yeah, what it feels like to be present with yourself, right?
Yeah.
That it's safe to be present with yourself.
Yeah.
And then finding that connection to that sparkly magical energy that you are. And knowing what it feels like to cherish yourself as the divine spark of creation. Oh, and how about this one? That it's safe for you to find and manifest and create amazing people in your life to reach out to for support in any way you need.
Yes.
Because we can't do it all by ourselves sometimes.
Yeah.
We don't have to. Excellent. Cool. Whoa. Let's integrate that. That was a lot. Woo. Good job. Cool. Good. So you have a new book out. Would you like to tell me about it?
Yeah, it's really fun because this book is actually the first book I wrote. So my first book was called The Four Elements of Change. It came out in 2004. I self-published it and then republished it, repackaged it. And then I had a publisher call me and say, hey, I really love your book. Would you like me to would you like to republish it? And I was like, yes. And that was a miracle. I mean, and then recently we decided we were going to repackage it again. So this is its fourth incarnation. I'm like, this is such a powerful book. So it's now called A Little Book of Big Freedom. Originally it was called A Toltec Path of Transformation, but it's really about change and how do we initiate change that's stable, that's sustainable, And also, how do we respond to sudden change? How do we get more grounded so that when things go differently than we expect, that we meet it with fluidity and with flexibility and with grace? So it really works with the 4 elements, with air, fire, water, and earth. And it gives us a new structure to be part of, so that as we're dismantling our old structure, we feel held, we feel solid, we feel seen.
Wow, that sounds like a really good book. I'm going to have to get that right away.
I'm so proud of it. I love that book. And I wrote it for myself. I mean,
Aww.
It was really my journey. It was the first like exploration of like, how do I really sustain change? And so there's a lot of tools in it. There's a lot of really practical steps around how to be in a new relationship with ourselves and with the people around us.
I'm so excited. I'm thinking about that as you say that, and how I really actually know that I have issues around like sudden change. And I think it's still kind of like rooted a little bit in my head injury that I had a really long time ago. It's like I just don't cope with, I can. It depends on where I'm at in what space, but sometimes I get a little attached to the way things are, and I need time to prepare for certain things. And so what's the first thing? I'm curious.
The first thing is what we've been talking about, clear perception. So learning how to witness yourself without judgment, how to really increase your awareness of your actions, your habits, your behaviors, your responses, and what your mind is doing. And starting to separate out a lot of the first part of the work is starting to separate out the mind from the emotional body, from the physical body, from the energetic body. Because for most of us, our mind's like a bully, and your mind's telling you, this is what your emotional body should be like. This is what your physical body should be like. And so as we start to separate, we put the mind back into right relationship with our energy, with our emotions, and with our physical body, which all have their own kind of wisdom.
Yes. That's great. That's a lot right there. That's something you work on for months, years. Yeah. And then I systematically take people through, okay, energy body, here's how to be in relationship with your energetic body so that it's clear and clean and as sparkly as possible. And here's how to be in relationship with your emotional body. Here's how to heal the emotional body. And here's how to heal the physical body to be in right relationship with our physicality, and how to nourish ourselves for the long term. So yeah, it's really beautiful. And I do that in most of my books. What I've recognized is that in order to create healing, we need to separate out the pieces, clean them up individually, and then you put them together and then they work beautifully. Just like if you had a car and you're going to take the pieces apart, clean them, then when you put it back together, everything works. But now we have all these parts that are kind of going against each other and mucking up things. So Heather, we got to take a little bit of a break, hear from our sponsor, and then we'll be right back. Okay? Hello, beautiful souls. Rare and special event. Like a super rare unicorn sighting, Sky is teaching some of the foundational Theta Healing certification courses online. It is one blazing rainbow of a portal opening up for a life-changing experience, all from the comfort of your own home. If you're interested in joining me, learning from my years of service to this international community, it's time to make your dreams come true and share with you one of the most powerful tools used to bring us into alignment, direct connection to the highest vibration of all that is, to ramp up your manifestation skills, all while creating impeccable discernment and empowering you with a map to the universe and beyond that will serve you the rest of this life and throughout lifetimes to come. If you're ready to step in, this is your time. If you're ready to clear your limiting beliefs and trauma that you haven't been able to get rid of this whole lifetime, pain or suffering, and general overall cosmic crap that you may think has been serving you, and move forward to be the most epic, brilliant, sparkly representation of self on this earth in a human body, this is one of the most potent steps I've discovered over the last almost 2 decades throughout all my travels, hanging out with all these healers all over the world that can help you get that for yourself. Taking these foundational certification courses with me after I've helped write and create these very foundational courses of Theta Healing that have made it internationally renowned and traveled around the world with the founder Vianna Stibal and her husband Guy, is a unique, powerful transmission, a download in itself that you don't want to miss. Plus, I'm effing magical. After all, cell does talk to cell, and light travels faster than the speed of light, and light just is. For more details and how to register for upcoming courses, go to www.skyislimitless.com. Go to the Work with Sky section, and then you'll see all about Theta Healing certification. That's www.skyislimitless.com. Or you can just go to the show notes and click on the link there. Hey, I'm back here with Heather Ash Amara, and we are having the greatest conversation. So, Heather, what do you do that inspires you?
I'm inspired by so many things, but I'd say what I do that renews me is lots of hikes in nature and being in stillness. So spending a lot of time just being quiet and slowing everything down and listening and really, really listening. So I'd say those are the two main things. And I find that when I go for walks, especially when I go for like really physical, hard, and sometimes I'll do these crazy ass up the mountain hikes.
Really?
Yeah.
I wouldn't know what you're talking about. Oh my gosh. Okay, I gotta say something, okay? I'm interrupting you, okay? So, oh my gosh.
That's right, you intimately know about.
Speaking of crazy hikes, Heather, we, my wife and I went on a trip with Heather to Peru, to Machu Picchu, and we went up and we hiked up Huayna Picchu. It's 8,000 some feet after you're up at something other kind of humongous elevation. And hiking with Heather is awesome. And we decided we were going to take the long way down the mountain. And it was a really long way. And I would never have gotten off that mountain except for Heather.
I had to do a lot of coaching.
She had to do a lot of coaching. She was so patient and so encouraging. And I will never forget the look on your face when you were out ahead of us and you were looking around the corner of the mountain and you looked back at me and it was like, oh, because it wasn't ending.
We're nowhere near to the end yet.
Nowhere near to the end.
Yeah, we just did that hike again this year with a group of people, and it's a long hike.
You did. You went down it again, huh?
Mm-hmm. I love it.
Yeah, you're good at that.
Yeah, I'm a little mountain goat.
So you do crazy hikes, and yes, that was a crazy hike, and I still have dreams about that hike.
Nightmares.
Yeah, kind of like I like to kind of do that again, and yet I don't know physically if I would ever be able to do that again. But you were really great. You were like really encouraging, super loving. It was a major source of encouragement. And I seriously never would have gotten off the mountain if it were for you. And the cool thing was I was thinking, okay, we made it up the mountain. Heck yeah, let's just go down the other side. And it was like this portal we were walking through. And then I learned this thing is like, just because you're going down the mountain doesn't mean it's necessarily going to be down all the way.
Yeah.
Because it was up and down, around and all around.
Yeah.
And it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be easier.
Yeah. And I think that's a really good metaphor too, of that. We sometimes think, well, when I reach the pinnacle, whatever the pinnacle is, then it's all downhill. And the truth is that life throws all sorts of interesting things our way. And that place of really learning how to be with every step and support and encourage yourself. Like, I can do this, you've got this, and be with people that it can encourage you when you can't. Because there are times we're not able to encourage ourselves anymore.
Oh my gosh.
Have people there to hold you and go, you've got this. I know you do. You don't think you have it, but I know you have it. Let's keep going.
Oh my gosh.
Huge difference.
Yeah. Like I used every trick in my book on the way up the hill.
And then, yeah.
And then down the hill, it just was like, oh my gosh. And I literally thought, there were so many different times, I'm like, I can't take a next step. And you're like, you can do it.
I got you.
And then we manifested that little angel of the guide. He came from behind. He has to walk up there, what, every day?
Mm-hmm.
Twice a day. He goes up and then down every day, and he checks for everybody on the path and makes sure they all get down. And like, that just blew my mind. This guy does this every day for a week. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Okay, so you like to go for crazy hikes. That's true. I can attest to that.
Yes. Yeah.
And I can also attest to the great stillness. Like, being next to you is just like, you are very quiet. There's no internal chatter. There's just presence. And it's almost loud. It's like loud silence. It's so deep.
Yeah. Been cultivating it for many years, and I'm really grateful to be able to experience that and just share it, because I really feel that when I'm around people, there's not a lot of people that know how to be still.
I don't.
We're not trained.
Right.
We're just not trained. And to be able to share that as a portal for people to touch into and get to find in their own body. That
just made me flash to this one mountain we were on, and you were like, hey, feel this rock. And then, then I ended up being an eagle flying around it in about 3 seconds. So yeah. Yes. So deep present. I mean, I can be still sometimes,
Mm-hmm.
really a little bit, but there's a lot of growth there to still invite into. So
for all of us, for sure.
Right. And so what do you find in that deep, deep, deep stillness when you're really, really still? What do you feel? What do you discover?
It's this deep sense of peace and of connection. So it almost feels like, for me, like being on the bottom of the ocean, and there's this beautiful stillness, and also, when you're in the water, you can feel the water and you can reach out. Like if there's sunshine coming through the water, and that vision of, you see the light coming through the water and that beauty of the waves and the connection. It's kind of that feeling for me of both stillness, but also really profound connection to everything. And it's so interesting to try and explain it.
Kind of just feel like a beingness, or?
Yeah, and just a heart. Like it feels like the personality and the struggle and the, any worry or anxiety just dissipates, and there's just this love that emanates, that comes forth.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah.
You do that so well. And in such a playful, genuine, real way, which I think endears you to all of your students and all of your followers, right? And your audience. And I think I always have admired that about you. You are, as you have been since I've met you, you have kept that genuine playfulness and curiosity and wise, quiet wisdom that's always there, and you're willing to share it if it's asked for. But there's like a deepness and a maturity about you that is just very unique. I don't know that many people really actually that got all that going down all in the same place. So plus the wild little pixie thing in you, man.
Yeah.
Little road tripping mama. So awesome. We pretty good here?
Yeah, we're great. It's always so fun to talk with you and go on these journeys into the cosmos and back again.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I so appreciate all the work that you're doing, and the beautiful weaving that you do of spirit and form.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And I'm looking, you guys can't see her, but I can see her. And she's like in her Airstream, and it's like she's traveling, and it's very cool that you're doing that.
Yeah, it's the best. I'm really loving being on the road and getting to meet people, and also having my little house that I can come hide in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the other thing. Of just being able to function while you're on the road. Like you do that really, really well. You know, you're like writing books on airplanes and
It's
right
true.
in the
Yeah.
airport.
Yeah, no, it's true. And I've been traveling since I was 3 weeks old. My
Mm.
parents put me on a plane when I was 3 weeks old, and we flew from Hong Kong, where I was born, to Los Angeles. And that was the beginning of a lifetime of travel. And so I'm really grateful to have the fluidity I have, that I can, literally sit down and go, okay, I'm going to write an article, and my plane board's in 10-minute go.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's so hot to me.
I'm really grateful for it. I didn't always have that actually with the writing but I've gotten more fluid as I've traveled more.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for listening to your inspiration and your guidance and all the stories that are coming forth through you, and sharing it with all of us through your books and your lecturing and your events and your gatherings and all your trainings and teachings. And if you want to learn more about all that Heather does, you can check out www.heatherashamara.com and enjoy the beauty that she has awaiting there for you. It's been such a pleasure having you join me here today on Leading with Light. I love what you're up to in the world, and I know how much the planet needs people just like you. Thank you, HeatherAsh.
Thank you, Sky.